Good afternoon, folks. Chief Meteorologist Nick Lilliga here, taking a look at the tropical update for September 30th of 2019, brought to you by the good folks over there at Pine Belt Gutters and Remodeling. And hey, by the way, hey, they do roofs too. Good guys over there. All right, anyway, into the Gulf of Mexico we go. Nothing really happening, honestly, really. Over the last couple weeks we've had thunderstorm activity out here, but for today, nothing really doing. The wider view showing maybe a little upper level low area just off of the Bahamas, firing up some convection. We've got Lorenzo, which is still here. I'm very surprised about what happened with Lorenzo. You may recall last week on Wednesday and Thursday, I was actually thinking, well, as it moves off to the north, it'll probably start to fall apart. It was starting to get kind of eating a little bit of dry air. Its inner eye wall was starting to kind of fall apart. I think this was last Wednesday at that point. Even the National Hurricane Center said it was going to hold on to a Cat 3 or Cat 4 status for only about 48 hours before starting to fall apart. And again, that was Wednesday. Thursday, Friday, come over the weekend, Friday and over the weekend, this thing was moving off to the north, is still a pretty decently put together hurricane. And then just coming off the coast of Africa, we got a couple of waves out here and then one back in behind me here. But truly, the wave train has slowed down off of the coast of Africa as well. This thing's still cruising, wind at 105 miles an hour, gusting to 125. It's moving off to the north and northeast at about 15 miles an hour. This thing's really going to start booking over the next couple of days as it moves kind of northeast to the northeast. And zoom this out a little bit. And it's going to be a post-tropical most likely. As it gets closer to, Scotland, Ireland, and Great Britain. And the thought is with wind at 70 miles an hour at this point as it does approach the islands out there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens for those folks. It may end up being a kind of their version, in essence, of a Hurricane Sandy, where the debate on is it still a hurricane, is it not a hurricane, may unfortunately get in the way of forecasting the impacts, which are going to be reasonably significant if this thing tracks along the west side, or I should say the east side of the cone and gets a little bit closer to land. They could be talking about a lot of rain, a lot of wind as this thing moves ashore, as well as some high seas. But Lorenzo is going to be an interesting storm for these guys to watch over the next couple of days. And again, this is by the time we get toward Thursday and into Friday of this week. Back around these parts, you can see there goes Lorenzo. Back around our neck of the woods and a little bit closer to home, dry air into the Gulf of Mexico. And again, that's why we don't have showers and thunderstorms. We've got the Central American gyre maybe trying to spit out a little bit of low-level vorticity. We've got another little area of low-level vorticity out into the open Atlantic, not really bothering anybody. But the dry air into the Gulf of Mexico is going to kind of hold on. There's an outside chance that whatever does get calved off of the Central American gyre lifts north into the Gulf of Mexico and then through our neck of the woods as we head through Friday and into Saturday. And then here comes a big cold front that's going to slide through Sunday and into Monday across parts of the southeast and return us to normal weather conditions, or at least normal for this time of the year. A brief reminder for folks that are watching this from Texas all the way back around to Tampa Bay. Keep in mind, these subtropical ridges that we get late in the year tend to do a pretty good job of keeping anything in the tropics away from us. That's why, for as hot as it is and as annoying as it is to have the summer hold on, it does keep anything that's out here away from our neck of the woods. So now that we've basically peeled that off and we've kind of opened the door for some different air mass to settle in, that does change what can eventually get into the Gulf of Mexico in terms of coming maybe toward us. All right, well, that was the American model. What was the European model saying? Well, kind of same thing. A little piece of something down here off of the Central American gyre gets into the Gulf of Mexico as we head through Friday and into Saturday. The European actually slides this thing into South Texas and Mexico. It also does a number with a little wave coming off the coast of Africa. Slide in this direction. This is as we head through Monday and Tuesday. Here comes a big area of low pressure and a pretty decent cold front through here as we head through next week. It doesn't really do anything else with that in terms of development, but the question becomes, okay, well, we got something that's entering the Greater and Lesser Antilles, according to the European here. If it survives the Caribbean, it may make a turn off to the north at some point, and that big subtropical ridge that was basically acting as a, hold on folks, park's closed, in terms of stuff getting into the Gulf and toward us, it's basically just removed that completely. And so if anything does get into the Caribbean and turn off to the north, we don't have our big fullback, our big blocker here to push things away from us anymore. So anything that is out here does bear watching a little bit closer for interests, as they like to say, along the Gulf Coast. I will say, though, you look out into the open Atlantic, into the Caribbean, and into the Gulf of Mexico, and according to not only the American but also the European, through the next 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 days, as of now, the data doesn't suggest that there is much to worry about. So there's a look at the tropical update for September 30th of 2019, brought to you by the good folks at Pine Belt Gutters.